Should we begin with our 30-second silence? In the last session, we discussed the very, maybe one of the most important questions of our life. Who am I? And we came to the conclusion that in essence, we are the soul within us, that which was in our past birth, that which is within us, and that which will continue into the next birth. So that which is continuing is me, right? So today's topic is, how can I simultaneously identify with both this outer being I call myself and the inner being, this inner presence, or in simple terms, how to connect with the divine. Swami Vivekananda once said, within each one of you, there is the power to remove all wants and miseries. Believe in this, and that power will be manifested. He also said, Ishvara is the Atman as seen or grasped by mind. Today's session is going to focus on finding this divine presence within us. It is about finding ourselves. You see, we are not a 100 rupee note in last winter's coat pocket. We are also not lost. Our true self, our soul, is right here, within us, but buried. It is buried under what? It is buried under our cultural conditionings. It is buried under our opinions, our inaccurate conclusions that have become our belief about who we are. We start believing that we are limited human beings. Finding ourselves is like a homecoming. You know how it feels after a full day at school when you reach home, how happy you feel, how connected you feel. This is home. Similarly, finding ourselves is actually like a homecoming. It is actually like a returning back to ourselves. It is an unlearning, an excavation, a discovery. It is remembering again who we were before this world and before our education got its hands on us. Unfortunately, mostly education does not deal with this most important topic of our lives. Who am I? And when we hear such sessions, one thinks, oh my God, this is going to be a terribly difficult journey. And it will need so much time connecting with my soul. It will need hours of meditation and mantra chanting and other such mumbo jumbo. On the contrary, it is one of the simplest processes of our life, even simpler than deciding what clothes to wear. That gets a little tough sometimes. Let me tell you a story about a guru and a disciple. A person goes to a master and asks him for a method. A method was to be able to realize God, to get connected to God. And the master looked at him for some time. And then he said, just remember this simple mantra, Tat Tvam Asi. Tat means that, Tvam means thou, Asi means art. That thou art. There is no greater mantra than this. The disciple didn't believe him. And you know why the disciple didn't believe him? Because he felt that the method is too simple. I just go to a master and he gives me the mantra, and if I chant the mantra, I will realize God. I don't believe it. So he rejected this master and he went to another master. Now, these masters have already connected to their soul, to their real being. And the soul is connected to the other, to the other, to the other. This master already knew what had happened with this disciple. So when he went to the other master, the second master, and asked him the same question, the second master said, no problem. I will give you work, 8 hours daily, like cleaning the ashram, cleaning the cow shed, milking the cows, preparing the dinner. And after all this work is done and you've had your meal, you have to sit for 4 hours in meditation. So the disciple asked, then? So he said, then after 12 years, when you've done this very religiously, I will give you a mantra. And that mantra will make you realize God. The disciple was so anxious to get the secret of realization. He was a sincere disciple. So he did this work religiously for 12 years. And after 12 years, he went to his master, and his master gave him the mantra Tat Tvam Asi, that thou art. Your master, the second master said, your master, your first master, had already given you the truth, but you didn't believe him because you didn't think that the truth can be so simple. So I had to grill you for 12 long years with arduous work. Your ego was not willing to accept that the truth can be so simple, so straight, so direct, that the method of connecting with the divine can be so simple. Most truths of life, my dear children, are simple. So today, we are going to look for a simple method which helps in connecting with our soul, our true self. And this simple method is not something that I have formulated. It is all coming from our texts. They are all Apt Vakya Praman. Apt is a person who is realized, Vakya is his utterances, Praman is his testimony. So when a realized soul says something, his utterances become testimony in themselves. So today we are here together to learn how to connect with God. Now let's go into our everyday life. When we meet a person, we like the person, what do we wish? We wish that we can get connected to that person. So what do? We try to get his or her cell number and we send a good morning wish, sometimes a joke, sometimes a forward. Then we wait for his or her reply. We wait that maybe he wants to connect with me, maybe he doesn't want to connect with me. If he approves of my friendship, then, only then, when we are sure of his response, then we try and invite the friend over for a game of table tennis or for some any cricket or just to come over and have a meal, a snack. It's tough, but it's not so difficult, is it? But believe it or not, it is even simpler to connect with God. And you know why it is easier to connect with God than to connect with a human being? The reason is that we don't have to wait for God's approval. God has already given us approval. He is, in fact, actually waiting for us to call him his friend. And he has waited so long. Ever since the moment we were born, he has waited that when will that day come when he or she, when you and I will call him our friend, when we will want to connect with him and remain connected with him all the time. So, coming back to the point, to connect with God, we first of all need to know where he is, right? To connect with anybody, we need to know where they are. So, now let's try to find the divine. And for that, let's go from near to far. Because all education, according to Sri Aurobindo, must start from that which is closest and then move to that which is farthest. Slide 5. Now we are trying to find the address of God. God is within us. God is around us. And God is above us as the Lord and Master. Right? Now let's think about the first point. God is within us. So we will quote from the Bhagavad Gita. So Sri Krishna says to Arjuna, Ishwarah sarvabhutanam hiddeshe Arjuna tishtati. The Lord, O Arjuna, he is everywhere. But where is he seated? He is seated in the heart of all existences. Hriddeshe Arjuna tishtati. 18th chapter, 61st verse. Ishvara sarvabhutanam hriddeshe Arjuna tishtati. So he is sitting inside the heart cavity as our soul. All is him. Now let's look at where else is he? He's sitting right here inside us. Where else is he? God is all around us. For he has become this universe. He has become this table. He has become this glass. He has become Aditya. He's become Brahmini man. He has become all of us. The divine has become the entire universe. He has not created it like an artist creates a painting. So the divine has become the entire universe. He has not created it like people say, "No, this universe is God's creation." It's not God's creation. If it was his creation, then God would be away and the creation would be away from him. It is a becoming. God has become this universe. He's not distanced from it. He has expanded himself and become this universe. Every animate and inanimate being is God himself in his becoming. The trees, the plants, the earth, the animals, the air we breathe, the rain we experience, or the drought we suffer. Every condition, every experience, every incident of our life, the divine has become that incident. And to be able to see him in every incident is really to see God. And he says in the Bhagavad Gita, and most of our children will be able to quote that mantra, where he says that I am like that spider who weaves the web from within him. I weave out the universe from within me. Vasudevah sarvam iti sa mahatma sudurlabha. Very rare is the great soul, Sri Krishna says. Very rare is the great soul who knows that Vasudeva, the omnipresent being, is all that is. All is him. Only we are not tuned to experience him in all, because we have not been taught as children to experience him in all. But when the students of Jaipuria will hear this again and again, when they will read these mantras in their Dev Bhasha again and again, then the chances of their being able to experience a divine in the animate and in the inanimate become a little better than most of us. You know, there have been, and there are still sages and rishis who are still living in that cosmic consciousness. They can experience him in all. They can, it's like, आप धरती माँ को सुनिए, अगर आप ध्यान से सुनेंगे, you will be able to hear the धरती माँ प्रणाम कर रही है शक्ति को. ए माँ तुझे प्रणाम, ए माँ तुझे प्रणाम, हे माँ तुझे प्रणाम. This is the prayer of धरती माँ. Trees are always in a state of prayer. Kirit uncle always used to say, trees, shrubs, plants, always looking up. They're always in a state of prayer. And when our nature becomes subtle, when our sensitivity becomes subtle, then we're able to even hear the song of the wind. The wind is singing, Anandamayi, Chaitanyamayi, Satyamayi, Parame. And that's what the air around us is forever chanting. What we have to do is to get into that subtle consciousness where we are able to experience this upward aspiration of nature. That is where we want to be, right? Now, first Aditya's question, and then we'll go to the third status of the divine, in which God is above us, Lord and Master. Yes, Aditya?
Ma'am, this is not a question, but I just had a comment related to the first point. Ma'am, this is a book by Leo Tolstoy as well, and this is in the Bible, the book of Luke, chapter 17. line 21, people will say, no, people will not say here it is or there it is, because the kingdom of God resides in your midst.
Wow. So you please send this to me, then I will add it to my presentation. It is so nice to get some words from the Bible as well, because it only testifies and gives a bigger testimony to the fact that all religions are the same. In our next talk, in which we are going to do aim of life, we are going to come to the bottom line of what is the aim of life
Yes, ma'am.
from the Bible, from the Bhagavad Gita, and from the Quran. So just to show that all three say the same thing. All right? Okay. So now we have seen God is within us, and Aditya has helped by giving us a reference from the Bible, and we gave you references from Gita as well as Swami Vivekananda. Then we said God is all around us. And again, we gave a testimony from a verse from Gita. There are hundreds of references, but we don't want to be lost in references. Third status of God, God is above us as the Lord and Master, controlling the universe. Right? Ajopi san vyayatma bhuta namishwaropi san. Sri Krishna says to Arjuna, I am the unborn. I am the imperishable. In my self existence, I am the Lord of all existences. Now tell me, students, which status of God is easiest to connect with? One is so close to us, right here, within us. One is all around us, everywhere, but in myriads of forms. And one is above us and hardly visible to us. Which one is easiest to connect with? Yes, students?
Ma'am, I think the God that resides within us in our soul is the easiest to connect with.
Absolutely.
The one which we can find in ourselves, and we don't need to look for him or find him somewhere or ask him for help. He's there in ourselves, and we just need to contact him and meditate for once and get to know him better.
Yeah. And even if we don't want to meditate, we can at least connect with him by talking to him.
True,
He's
true.
listening to us all the time. So connecting with him inside us is always the easiest. Why? Because he's like a flame of white light, shining and bright. Why I make these lights is that it becomes more real for us when we are able to see them as images. Sri Krishna says, I am that luminous light within. I am the soul, the Atma, the Ruh, which was, which is, and which shall be. Let's close our eyes and connect with this pool of light which is within us for 30 seconds. Yes, dear children, should I continue? The question that arises now is, how should we connect with the soul? We've understood that the divine is within me as my soul. I am that soul because I was that soul in my last life. I am that soul in this life, and I will continue my journey in the next life. So, that which was, which is, which will continue is who I am, and I need to connect with this being who is me. Right? Now, the question is, how do we connect with it? And Sri Krishna tells Arjuna the secret of connecting with him in chapter 9 of the Bhagavad Gita, verse 27. He says, and it's a very important verse. I think I've added it in your Deva Bhasha, I'm not sure. Somebody look up the Deva Bhashas and tell me whether it's part of your Deva Bhasha or not. Otherwise, we will add it. Very important verse. Yad karoshi yadashnasi yad juhoshi dadasi yat yat tapasyasi konteya tat kurushva madarpanam. Chapter 9, verse 27. Sri Krishna is telling Arjuna, whatever thou doest, whatever thou enjoyest, whatever thou sacrificest, whatever thou givest, whatever energy of tapasya, of the soul's will or effort thou puttest forth, make it an offering unto me. So, whatever you are doing, my dear children, whatever you are enjoying, whatever you are offering, whatever you are giving, whatever tapasya you're doing, even studying so hard as you're studying is a tapasya, right? We can even make eating food a tapasya. Make all of this effort, you put it forth in your Anjali, and Sri Krishna says, offer it to me. And now we know where Sri Krishna is. He's right there within us. You can call him Jesus, you can call him Allah, you can call him Guru Nanak, call him what you want to call him. It doesn't matter. But remember his presence. That presence is right here within me. And what is the secret that Sri Krishna has given? Whatever you are doing, keep offering it to me. Keep offering it to me. What will happen? What will happen is that you will create a thread between your outer being and your inner being. That thread through which you will keep, it will become like a hotline between yourself and your inner being. And we learn from Krishna that we can do this in just 2 seconds. Suppose I'm drinking a glass of water. How long does it take for me to say, Krishna, I offer this water to thee? Or imagine that Krishna, and whenever I say Krishna, you can say, think of any god that you want to. How long does it take to see him above the glass of water or above the food you're eating or in the action that you're going to do? Just remember that Krishna is above it. And you imagine that from his feet, there's a sprinkling of the magic dust from his feet on yourself and on the glass of water, on yourself and the paper that you're going to be studying for, the books that you're going to study, on yourself and the answer sheet or your laptop or your iPad on which you're going to take the examination in these corona days, on the mind which is going to answer that examination. And every teacher can do this, that Sri Krishna's magic dust is coming on her as she prepares for the lesson plan, as she writes her lesson plans. Anything. We can invite the divine and we can offer what we are doing to the divine so that there is a beautiful golden thread between me, my outer being, which is doing the work, and my inner being, which is God Himself. Suppose you're going to fight a battle in a court, your parents, and that battle is a very important battle. If they win, they remain in this home. If they lose their home. So important it is. Now, what do we need to do? As they brief the lawyer, before they go to the lawyer to brief him, they invite Krishna and they let the magic dust fall over them and over all that their mind is planning on the lawyer as they are briefing. 2 seconds, just 2 seconds. But the magic is done. And you offer the result. You offer the effort of briefing the lawyer. You offer the preparing for the case, and you offer even the result. Hey, oh God, I I desire to win this battle. I desire to win this battle. Because somebody's been, not been explaining the Gita's one of the very important verses, Karmanyevadikaraste, Ma Phaleshu Kadachana, where it has been told that, well, this means that we should not desire to win. Wrong. This is not what Sri Krishna is saying. Don't desire to win. If I don't have a motivation to win, I will not put in an effort. If I don't have a motivation to do well in my exams, why will I put in the effort? Of course, I want to come first in class. Of course, I want to get good results. Of course, I want to win this battle. Because that is what will motivate me to do the work. Karmanye vadhikaraste. Adhikar. We do not have a right on the fruit, but we can desire it and offer the desire to the divine and say, let thy will be done, not mine. My desire is to win, but my ultimate desire is, let thy will be done, not mine. Now, what about the times when we are very angry? We are angry with a friend who has betrayed us. What about the times when I'm angry with my mother, which we are quite often, huh? What do we do when we are having an argument? The Isha Upanishad says, Isha Vasya Midam Sarvam Yat Kinch Jagatyam Jagat. Everything belongs to the divine, belongs to Isha. If everything belongs to the divine, then even that anger, the argument, whatever I'm going to do, the fight that I'm going to have with my brother or with my friend, all of it belongs to the divine. And so does the hurt. So I'm going to take the hurt in my, I'm going to look at my hurt, put it in an Anjali, and say, oh Lord, this hurt doesn't belong to me. I have smarted under the hurt. I'm feeling hurt. But now I take this hurt and I offer to you, let thy will be done. And instantly it gets dissolved because he is Ananda, 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 only Ananda. This means everything can be offered to him. He can be invited into everything. Somebody tells us that karmanyevadikaraste means that I shouldn't be thinking about the result. Please tell people not to misinterpret it. We do not have an adhikar. Karmanyevadikaraste. We do not have an adhikar on the result. But it has to become a motivation for us to win our battle, get good results. Okay? And the final prayer to the divine is, let thy will be done, not mine. Now, Sri Aurobindo, when he was interpreting this very important action of offering, he uses the word sacrifice. But wherever he uses the word sacrifice, you can substitute it for the word offering, right? So, here, while interpreting this verse, he wrote something in the essays on the Gita, which I'm very, very fond of.
Make of all you do, from the greatest and most unusual effort to the smallest daily act, make of each act of your mind, each act of your heart, each act of your body, of every inner and outer turn, of every thought and will and feeling, of every step and pause and movement, a sacrifice to the master of all sacrifice and tapasya. Sri Aurobindo, Essays on the Gita.
Does it take, my dear students? How long? Barely 2 seconds. And in those 2 seconds, you've not only offered to him what you are thinking, feeling, doing, but you may also be able to invite him into the act. Tell me, will we be able to do the work alone by ourselves better, or will we be able to do it better if he has come into the act, if the divine himself has stepped into our effort? And you know what? This is a beautiful secret that I must give to you. And it's a very beautiful secret. He has promised that he will come to us every single time that we call him. Every time we call him, every time we offer something, he comes. He comes to take it from our hands and he touches us and goes. He has promised that he will come every single time that we call him. And every time he comes, he touches us and goes. Imagine the divine touching us. What a beautiful experience it is. We can meditate on this. Yes. Now I'd like to share with you a conversation that happened after the Mahabharata between Uddhav and Sri Krishna. Uddhav had many questions regarding the things that Sri Krishna did or didn't do. And he was so close to Sri Krishna that he could candidly ask him anything. Once Uddhav asked Sri Krishna, why Sri Krishna did not come to help Yudhishthir when he was playing the dice with Shakuni. And you know what he said? You know what Sri Krishna answered? Sri Krishna said, Yudhishthir didn't call me. In fact, he didn't even tell me that he had accepted this game of dice for which Duryodhan had invited him. Then Uddhav said, Hare Krishna, you knew it, na? Even if he didn't tell you. You could have still gone to the palace. You could have stopped Yudhishthir from playing dice. Or at least you should have stopped Yudhishthir from placing his brothers on the bet. If you could not have done that, you could have at least stopped Yudhishthir from placing Draupadi in the bet. Why didn't you do that? And you know what Krishna said? Krishna said, Yudhishthir had prayed that I do not come to the hall where he was playing dice. It was his prayer that let Sri Krishna not know that I'm playing this dice. Let Sri Krishna not come here while I'm playing this dice. And it is this prayer of his that tied me down. You think I didn't want to go and help him, but I was tied down by his prayer. What does it show? It shows that when we pray, Sri Krishna hears. Sometimes he gives us what we are praying for, and sometimes his answer is no. But he listens to us every single time. And even when Draupadi, the Chirharan was happening and Shakuni was pulling at her clothes, until Draupadi kept asking the elders in that sabha, she kept asking Dhritarashtra, Bhishma Pitama, Guru Dron. She was pleading to them. Sri Krishna did not come to help. Until she was holding on to her clothes, Sri Krishna did not come to help. But the moment Draupadi called out for Krishna, that very moment, there was an answer to her call. And she said, Hey Krishna, Hey Krishna, Hey Krishna. That is the whole point of offering. That is the whole point of remembering him. That is the whole point of invoking him, calling him into our actions, calling him into our emotions, calling him into our thoughts, into our planning, everything. And you know what? They can be good thoughts, but there are times when we have bad thoughts. There are times when we have ugly thoughts. It doesn't matter. What matters in the ultimate analysis is, have we remembered him? Now, suppose we have a bad thought, a thought where we are going to hurt someone or something that we know is wrong. But once we invite the divine into it and we offer to him and we experience him around us, there definitely will be a change in the quality of the action that will come out of us after that. And you know, as I repeat myself, it takes only 2 seconds to invite him. I'm sure each one of us can pull out those 2 seconds in all that we are doing, all that we are feeling, and all that we are thinking. Now, Uddhav then asked Krishna, does it mean, Krishna, you will come only when you are called? Will you not come of your own? When you know that people are in crisis to establish justice, will you not come of your own? Why are you waiting for us to call you? And Krishna said, Uddhav, everyone's life proceeds based on their own karma. I don't run it. I don't interfere in it. I am only a witness sitting here inside of them. I stand close to you and I keep observing whatever is happening. That is my dharma, Sri Krishna said. This is the law of the universe, and this law has been placed on me as well. Now Uddhav was shocked. He was shocked and he was angry with Krishna. He says, Wah, very good, Krishna, very good. He started becoming sarcastic. He said, in that case, you will stand close to us. You will stand there observing what we are doing. And while we are doing all our evil acts, all the blunders and more sins, you will stand close to us, inside us, close to us. You want us to commit more blunders. You want us to accumulate sins. You want us to suffer. Uddhav said. And Krishna said, Uddhav, do you know what you just said? He said, yeah, he repeated himself. So then Krishna said, if you really understand what you just said, then you will not make that mistake. When you understand and realize that I am standing as a witness inside you, that I am right close to you, everywhere around you, how can you do anything wrong? You definitely cannot do anything wrong. The problem is, Uddhav, that man forgets that I am present within him. Man forgets that I am all around him. Man forgets that I am above him. Man forgets that I am above him as his Lord and Master. And then you think that you can do things without my knowledge. That is when you get into trouble. When you think, Bhagwan thodi dekh rahe hai. I am doing this secretly. There is no secret from God. Dharmraj ka ignorance kya tha? What was the ignorance of Dharmraj? Dharmraj's ignorance was that he thought he can play the game of gambling without my knowledge. If Dharmaraj had remembered me before he had accepted the game of gamble, or he had offered the gambling to me before he said yes, if he had invited me into the game of gamble, if he had invited me into the result, the Pandavas would not have suffered the way they have suffered. Nice, no? Nice story, no? Makes us realize how we have God so close to us, but we do not remember that He is so close to us. It makes us realize that we can invite God into what we are doing so that our action becomes better and better, but we forget to invite Him. So for today, we learn from this story that we must remember the divine at all times, in the smallest of our acts, in the most important big acts of our life. What should we remember? That the divine is palpably there within us, around us, and above us. All we need to do is to offer to Him the work we are doing, offer to Him the feelings we are feeling, offer to Him the thought that's coming to our mind, offer to Him our plans, offer to Him our studies, our examinations, our planning, our making the lesson plans, offer to Him the fight that I'm going to have, offer to Him the hurt that I feel. And then the result that will accrue out of all this work will be so beautiful. All we need to do is to invite Him. All that. And here the mother has given a very beautiful, we have a beautiful quote from the mother. When one enters consciously into contact with one's soul, and once the union is established, it is over. It can no longer be undone. It is something permanent, constant, which resists everything and which, at any moment whatsoever, if referred to, can be found. The mother. What a beautiful assurance that once we get stationed in the soul, once we get stationed here, अभी तो हम कभी याद करते हैं, कभी भूल जाते हैं, कभी कभी ऑफर करते हैं, कभी भूल जाते हैं. But once we get stationed here in our soul, then it cannot be reversed ever. What a reassurance. And when one gets stationed in one's soul, then once he gets stationed in the soul, he becomes the feather blown by the breath of the Lord. He becomes the flute on the lips of the divine. He becomes the perfect instrument of the Lord. It's not that we only have to invite Him. There are other efforts that we have to do of perfecting ourselves. And that will be part of the aim of life, because the aim of life is to perfect ourselves. And how do we perfect ourselves? What is the aim of life is going to be the session that we're going to have next. Maybe Tuesday, whenever Brahmini ma'am tells us. Probably we'll fix it for Tuesdays. And the session is called Aim of Life.
Ma'am, I would like to say that in last session we have talked about the magic book. I have ordered it from Amazon.
I'm so happy, so happy.
I mean, this morning only it arrived to me.
Okay, so you're going to start reading from today?
Yes, ma'am.
At the end of every chapter, one chapter a day, at the end of every chapter, whatever homework is given must be done religiously.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
for 1 month, 10 gratitudes every day have to be written in a gratitude journal. I made 2 journals when I read the book. One was my gratitude journal in which I only wrote my gratitudes. And another was whatever I was learning from the book. So that was my other journal. So don't mix the two.
Yes, ma'am.
10 gratitudes, and each you don't have to think of names and new ones till you reach the point that you start becoming grateful to the trees, you become grateful to the atmosphere. There's so many things you're grateful for. Yeah, and that brings us into the space of gratitude. I'm so happy, Akul. Thank you for buying this
Thank
book.
you. Thank you, ma'am, for telling the book names.
Yeah, thank you.
Amazing session. And I've been I don't know, I've been trying to read Gita for years now, and now I do it every day. And 2 questions. One is from the previous session where we talked about the journey of soul, and one question I would like to ask you, that what is the beginning of the journey of the soul? Where does it start?
So for that, we will have to repeat our that session that we had on the creation of the story of becoming.
No, that I attended.
But
What I
we
want
have-
to know is, like, suppose I am a soul and
Huh.
I am here because of my previous birth, and I'll be in the next birth also. So where did my journey start? At what point?
So
Like,
in the-
did I start as a bacteria, or I mean, this is what I mean. As what form did I start? That now, in after so many births, I've reached a human being,
what
and
is
I'm
gone?
Sandhya,
No,
right?
what- So Sandhya, I'm putting a very long story short. When the
Yes.
divine was all alone and he was there, only his presence was there. There was not even this universe. There was no becoming. He had not expanded. He was just a presence. Then he meditated on himself. Ritam cha satyam cha vidat tapsodhya jayata. Then he did tapas. Tapasodhya jayata. Tato ratri jayata tata samudro arnava. This is the story of becoming. So he started expanding himself, because when you meditate, there is heating. When there is heating in science, you understand there's expansion. I'm putting a very long story very short. So he started becoming annasya chittam abhisancharenyam. So he started becoming other than what he was. So the perfect became the imperfect. The immortal became the mortal. Ananda became the opposite of it. Light and wisdom became ignorance and darkness.
Darkness.
He became exactly opposite of himself, but he became that. Remember always, it is not that he created the darkness, he became the darkness. So there was not even the inanimate matter that time. What it's called is inconscient. In the inconscient, there was not even matter, right? Then he looked at the inconscient and he said, Acha. So the perfect was looking at himself as the imperfect. So I've become the imperfect. Now what should I do? So he asked the gods, will you do something? Can you do something about it? The god said, no. We are just one singular power of you. We don't have the whole of you inside us. And unless the whole of you goes in there, this inconscient can't turn into you again. The imperfect can't become the perfect. So then God looked inside himself and said, okay, these gods can't do anything, but they're just one singular power. So he found inside himself Shakti, love. And then he said, can you do something? And she said, of course. You and I are the same. So I can do anything you say, just bid. I said, okay. And then God, in the Vedas, it says, Bahusyam, Bahusyam. He became many. And that mantra that we do, Purna Madaha Purna Midam, each one of the many is you, me, Sarthak, Akul. All of us are one soul. Millions of souls the Mother Shakti became. And then he looked at them and he said, he looked at you, Sandhya ma'am. He looked at me and he said, okay, now I'm ready to play a game of hide and seek. Are you ready? And all of us said, yeah, if it's a game with you, why not? We are ready to play with you. What is the game? He said that you will go down into the inconscient, which is me only. But, and then you have to find me. So we said, there seems to be some catch in this. What's the catch? And he said, you know what? Once you go down, you'll forget who you are. And Sandhya ma'am, honestly speaking, does any one of us, did we remember who we are? We think, I think I'm Anjali. You think you're Sandhya. How many of us remember that I am the soul? I am that soul which the divine has become. I am Purna, just like Purna Midam, Purnat, Purna Mudachyate. How many of us remember? We've forgotten. Then we said, then how will it happen? He said, you will get a little inanimate, you will get inconscient, little. And that little inconscient you have to turn into the inanimate matter. Because you are me, you have every power. Inside us is God. That is me. And that is every power. So with the throbbing and the aspiration of the soul, slowly that inconscient started turning into inanimate matter. From there came out life, vegetation, plants. From there came out what? There came out mind, the lower animals, the bigger animals, orangutan. From there came out the caveman, the barbarian. And your soul kept aspiring, kept pushing the flame of aspiration into that matter, into that imperfect matter. And as your soul kept pushing, aspiring, that matter kept changing, till from the barbarian it became a civilized person and more civilized till it became Sandhya Agarwal. The soul is still aspiring because even today, Sandhya Agarwal, Anjali, Pramini, Sarthak, nobody is perfect. None of us. We are far from perfect. Only is perfect. And we all have to go on working to making ourselves perfect. And for making ourselves perfect, when we go through the next session, Aim of Life, we will understand what all we have to do to make ourselves perfect. Very simple things. Again, no mumbo jumbo, but something that we have to keep reminding ourselves how to work on perfection. Right? I hope I've been able to answer your question, Sandhya ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Amazing. Thank you. And one more question that is
Yes.
regarding today's session.
Yes.
When Uddhav is talking to Sri Krishna, and when Krishna said that Yudhishthir did not call me or he did not invite me to become when he was going to play the dice. But somewhere in Gita, and you also said that what we do is also partially because of a karma. So was it not their karma that made him, play the dice and without inviting the god, he had to go through that process?
All the difficulties that come to us are carved out, tailor-made for us, because each difficulty is tailor-made to be able to give us an opportunity to grow a little more, to perfect a little more. But the whole story is that had he invited, he wouldn't have had to go through that particular difficulty. The 12 years, they were so difficult. To be able to see his own brothers turn into slaves in front of him, what kind of pain he must have gone through. So, one thing you must remember, Sandhya ma'am, is God never punishes. This whole theory of karma is so warped that we made a mistake, so now we are being punished. God is not some ordinary parent or an ordinary teacher who needs to punish punishment is done by an ordinary parent, an ordinary teacher. A good teacher never needs to punish. She will be able to bring her child around with love and sweetness. And that is what the divine does. Whenever he gives us difficulties, he gives us the difficulties as an opportunity to be used to perfection. So the karma theory of punishment and reward has to be completely thrown in the dustbin. All right.
Thank you, ma'am. I don't know. Amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you. Really, really. You answered my two questions so wonderfully well. This had been troubling me. I attended last
Oh,
session. I always attend all your sessions.
oh,
So,
okay.
and it had been dwelling, I mean, in my mind that next time when I meet Anjali ma'am, I'll definitely ask her these questions. Thank you,
Ah,
and thank you again.
thank you
Really
so
wonderful.
much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. So now Sarthak was one of the hands raised.
Yes, good afternoon, ma'am, once again. And
Good afternoon.
I wanted to just tell one in short excerpt. Ma'am, actually, when Abhimanyu got into the Chakravyuh and he was surrounded by the 6 warriors in the Chakravyuh when he went too much inside, and then when he got killed, assassinated, after his death, Arjuna also asked Sri Krishna that if you knew that this had to happen, then why did you go? Why didn't you go to help Abhimanyu? Why didn't you let me go to help Abhimanyu? So Sri Krishna also replied in the same way that it was in the Abhimanyu was continuously thinking in his mind that he will be able to do it alone, and he did not call me. So
Yes,
that theory applies with Abhimanyu also, ma'am.
yes, exactly. And all we need to do is call him. I'm saying the the answer he has given in the Gita is so simple. पर उतना भी हम याद नहीं रखते हैं. ये किसका प्रॉब्लम है? उसने तो हमको अपने इतने करीब दे दिया, हमारे चारों तरफ दे दिया, फिर भी हम याद नहीं करेंगे. तो ये हैबिट बननी पड़ेगी. And as early in school we can start teaching this, as early that it becomes a habit between in all our children, then it will remain forever and ever and ever. Thank you. What a beautiful.
Yes, ma'am, just one more thing I wanted to tell.
Yes, sir.
Ma'am, I just prepared my own little short story in
Hmm.
which there is a lawyer and he practices in the court, and his practice was going very well. He used to win all the arguments, but one phase came of his life when he started losing all his arguments and he got very demoralized. So he came to his house and he prayed to God that God please help me, God please help me, but he never did that with full consciousness. And again he went to the court, he argued and he lost. So once he went to his mother and he said told her that even after praying again and again to God, he is not helping me, I am losing again and again. So his mother told the lawyer that when you go to the court, before presenting any argument, what is the first thing that you do? So the lawyer replied that first I take the permission of the judge. Like I say, with the permission of the judge, I would like to begin my argument. So the mother said in the same way, like you take the permission of the judge before you start to speak, if you take the permission or if you invite God in your argument, then he will be able to do it more beautifully. So the lawyer said that okay, I'll try this in my next argument. And after some days, when the next argument occurred, he went to the court, and before asking the judge, he just invited God and he said that with the permission of the God, I would like to begin my argument. And that argument he actually won, and he was very happy. And when he returned to his home, he told his mother. So his mother said that it is not anything that I have made, it is already written in the Upanishads, in the Granths, and that is what I have told. So there is no use of praying without heart. If we just go to the temple and pray just for the sake of it, then it would not help. We have to do it with full consciousness.
Absolutely true. Very true, Sarthak. Very beautiful story. And we should remember that sometimes we may pray and invite him. The lawyer could have prayed and invited the divine, and he could have still lost the case. And he should be still saying, "Thank you, God, because let thy will be done," was his prayer. And to accept that his will is that I lose the case, and to accept it with grace and to keep working. We must remember that his answer need not always be that I have won. His answer can also be that I have lost, and our acceptance of will show the amount of surrender that we have.
Ma'am,
Yes.
actually, this story I had written at the time of the spiritual retreats that we were having.
Oh, but we never could hear you. Very
Yes,
nice.
ma'am. Ma'am, today the same similar kind of conversation was going, so I presented it.
We had done this talk, almost the same talk we have
Yes,
done
ma'am.
earlier. It's just that, when you repeat these kind of talks again and again, you have these sessions again and again, it becomes more and more firm inside you.
I think ma'am has spoken so beautifully that my question has been answered through that.
Oh, nice. I'm so happy, Sagya, ma'am.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you.
And
Thank
ma'am,
you.
I would like to request that in the next session of Aim of Life, I would like to throw some light on the teachings of Quran for that Aim of Life.
So, can you share them with me so I can,
Yeah,
or,
definitely, ma'am.
yeah? Because I try to look up, I don't, I know that in the Quran they say that let thy will be done, but
Yes,
that
ma'am.
the will of Allah should actually happen through me. I couldn't find the right quotes. So if you can share
Sure,
them
ma'am.
with me, you can take my number from Promini ma'am. You can share them
Sure,
with me.
ma'am.
That would be really nice.
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am. Definitely. I would love to do that.
Yeah. Thank you. I was wondering who to ask. I should have thought that we have so many teachers in school. I could have asked you all. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Sagya ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Ma'am, like Sarthak was just saying, that
Mm.
after the lawyer just invited God to his argument, he won. So, what if that he invites God and he believes in God and everything, but the topic at which he's arguing is not just. He is not speaking for the just part of the argument. So, will God help him?
This all depends it's all very subjective, Samriddhi. It's not something that you and I can take a decision on what God will do at that moment. It's not necessary that every time justice will prevail. There are times when injustice also happens, but the injustice can change with the next level of justice. So it all is very subjective. There are no firm rules that have been propounded because God knows what our inner being is, how much progress we need, and how we can go ahead. This decision cannot be taken by you and me, and there are no firm rules of when we will win and when we will lose. But there are firm rules that every time we invite God, God comes. This is a promise of His. But whether when He comes, we will every time get what we want, that is not a rule. That depends on the subjective progress that we need. Every time He will give to us what we need to get to be able to progress. Every circumstance is tailor made for our progress, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, just to mention, the offerings, just as Prabhini ma'am also said, that there are times that we do so many things, but we don't realize that from where have we, captured it, where have we imbibed them. So I'll just like to share a little incident. When my daughter was very young, so suddenly started getting hiccups, and we just could not control it. I did everything that I could. I gave her medication, everything. It didn't stop, and it was so troublesome. And unknowingly, I kept a glass of water that I'd been giving to her sip by sip, and I kept it in front of God. And I said, I just offer this to you, and I want you to put your blessings into this, and let my baby be fine. I can't see her in this pain. And ma'am, to my surprise, it actually happened. It worked. With that one sip, after offering it to the God, the same glass of water which my daughter had been consuming for the last 2 hours and did not make any difference to her, it happened. It was not less than a miracle for
Wow.
me. I've
Wow.
experienced this. So, all this while, when you were talking about offering, I literally had tears in my eyes, experiencing that thing all over again. That I really experienced divine at that time. I didn't know. there was a time people told me, oh, it's just the time that you've been giving her, and then suddenly it worked. But now I can strongly say that yes, it really works. And the divine was there to bless my baby. He is around us, he is within me, he is on top of all of us. I really experienced that. So, and thank you so much, ma'am, for making me feel that yes, my belief is strong and I was not going wrong with anything.
Very
Thank you.
beautiful. Very beautiful. Thank you so much. So
Thank you,
happy about
ma'am.
your experience.
See, and
So,
ma'am, one more thing, that the string that you were talking about, the golden thread within my outer being and my inner being. I feel it all depends on us. The way we clean our outer being, and we talk about cleansing of the inner being as well. We must look into the cleansing of this little delicate thread also. Every doubt that I have within me, I think, entangles this thread a little. And then it takes ages for us to, you know, get that clarity, that finesse in that thread. So, with your thoughts, with your shares, I think we are able to. I'm not saying I've been able to connect and make that thread an absolute golden one, but yes, it's really helping all of us. We are seriously blessed to experience this, map. Thank you. Thank you.
so happy. Actually, it's not the thread that needs cleaning, Parul ma'am. What needs cleansing and refining is our outer being. The clearer, the healthier my physical body is, the the more and more refined we are able to refine our vital emotional being, the more and more clarity that we bring to our mental being, and then that whatever is passes through will pass through the thread. Only you, whatever you will pour is what will pass through.
True, ma'am.
Agar, if the milk has a lot of mud in it, so the sieve can't do anything. The sieve can take some bit off, but it will still be muddy, right? So the connecting thread is golden only. But what we are sending from here depends depends what is going to go through. So what we have to do is cleanse the outer instruments. And that is the topic for our next session, which is aim of life.
Yes,
Because
ma'am.
until we clean our outer being, what will be sent from the outer being to the inner being will remain the same, right?
So
So the
true, ma'am. So true. So
cleansing of the
thank
outer
you for,
being.
yes, ma'am. Thank you for pouring our outer being with such wonderful and cleansed thoughts and things, and that's the greatest gratitude that all of us as teachers we have for you. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. It's just God's grace.
See, ma'am.
Just God's grace. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am, because on my birthday, the video that you sent, ma'am, it was so good. I saw it. It was so influential. So I just wanted to thank you, ma'am.
You can thank you. It's my pleasure. Really my pleasure. It's
Thank
only
you,
the
ma'am.
words of the mother. There's nothing that I have said. I've only put it in my words, but the thoughts, everything are what the mother and Sri Aurobindo have spoken about birthdays. Birthdays are very, very important. Very important. You can send it to others, Archana ma'am. I don't know whether I sent it to Pramani ma'am or no. If she wants to share it with people, with the children or the teachers, you're
Yes.
most welcome. I
Maybe
can't
the
help.
class teacher can find out. Maybe the class teacher can find out later. And
Yeah.
next session we can do.
Yeah, next session we can answer the question. Her class teacher can find out. Yeah. All right.
1 minute of silence.
Yes, please. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for being such a patient audience. Thank you. Thank you so much. Jai Shri Krishna.